almost didn't pick up. The phone was vibrating on the kitchen counter, inching closer to the edge with every pulse. Unknown number, late evening. The kind of hour when good news usually waits until tomorrow, and bad news doesn't bother waiting at all. I stared at it while the kettle screamed behind me. I told myself I was too tired, too drained for explanations, for strangers, for anything unexpected. I had spent the whole day doing what was required of me and none of what I actually wanted. The phone stopped. Relief came instantly. Then it rang again. I answered before I could talk myself out of it. Hello? There was a pause, not an awkward one, a careful one. I wasn't sure you'd answer, a man's voice said, calm, warm, slightly unsure, like he wasn't used to interrupting people's lives. I almost didn't, I said, honestly. A quiet laugh. That makes sense. Who is this? I asked. Another pause, longer this time. This is going to sound strange, he said, but you asked me to call you. I frowned and leaned against the counter. I don't think so. You did, he replied gently. 2 years ago, you left me a voicemail. My chest tightened. I've never done that, I said. You were sitting on a bus. It was raining. You sounded exhausted, but hopeful. The room felt suddenly smaller. That's not possible, I whispered. You said, he went on, if I'm still stuck in the same place when you hear this, please call me. My hand trembled slightly around the phone. I don't remember, I said. I figured you wouldn't, he replied. You also asked me not to explain anything unless you sounded unhappy. Silence filled the space between us. Well, he asked softly, do you? I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. I don't know, I finally said. That's what you said I should listen for, he replied. The kettle clicked off, the sudden quiet making my heart beat louder. How did you even get my number? I asked. You gave it to me, he said. I was a stranger back then too, sitting next to you. A memory stirred, faint, blurred around the edges. A long bus ride, rain streaking the windows. Talking to someone because it felt easier than talking to people who knew me too well. I told you I was afraid. You were. Afraid that one day you'd wake up and realize your life had quietly decided for you. My eyes burned. Why call now? I asked. Because today, he said carefully, is the date you told me to try. My breath caught. I wrote it down, he added. I didn't know why, but I promised you I would. I slid down into the chair, phone pressed to my ear. And what happens now? I asked. That part wasn't clear, he admitted. You just asked me to remind you of one thing. And what's that? That you were brave enough to want more, even when you retired. The line stayed open. Neither of us spoke. And for the first time in a long while, I felt something I hadn't expected at all. Not fear, not regret. Possibility. You didn't hang up right away. Not because there was more to say, but because neither of us wanted to be the first to step away from the moment. It felt fragile, like if we moved too fast, it might disappear. You sound different, he said finally. From when? I asked. From the voicemail, he replied. You sounded smaller then, like you were trying not to take up space. I swallowed. That sounds like me, I said. You were kind to yourself, though, he added. even while you were scared. I closed my eyes. The memory sharpened a little. The bus, the rain, my reflection in the dark window layered over passing lights. I'd been talking quietly, almost apologetically, as if the future might overhear me and judge. I didn't think anyone would actually call, I admitted. You said that too, he replied. You said this was a long shot, but you also said you didn't want to give up without leaving some kind of marker. A marker, I repeated. So you'd know, he said, that at some point you were awake enough to ask. We sat in silence again. I noticed my shoulders had dropped, my breathing had slowed. Something in me was settling. Not because anything had been solved, but because I wasn't alone with the questions anymore. Do you want to know what else you said? He asked gently. Part of me wanted to say no, but a larger part leaned forward, hungry and afraid at the same time. Yes, I said. You talked about a letter, he said, one you'd written but never sent. My heart skipped. He didn't read it, he added quickly. You didn't show it to me. You just talked about it. You said it scared you more than anything else. I stood and walked slowly to the living room, phone pressed to my ear. On the shelf near the window sat an old notebook, its spine cracked from being opened too often and never finished. I hadn't touched it in months. I said it was easier to imagine a different life, I murmured, than to ask for it. Yes, he said. You imagined felt safe. Asking felt final. I picked up the notebook and held it in my hands. And, I asked, and you asked me to tell you something if I ever called. What? That the fear wouldn't go away, but it also wouldn't kill you. A quiet laugh escaped me. That's comforting in a strange way. You also said, he continued, if I sound like I'm still waiting, please tell me that waiting is a choice too. I sank onto the couch. Waiting is a choice. I'd told myself for years that I was being patient, responsible, sensible. I hadn't admitted that part of me was just afraid to move without permission. Why did you keep the voicemail? I asked suddenly. He hesitated. Because you weren't asking for rescue. You were asking to be remembered, and that felt important. The word landed gently, but firmly. Remembered. I don't even know what you look like, I said. That was intentional, he replied. You said this wasn't about me. You said I was just a handoff. A what? A reminder from past you to future you, he said. I just happened to be holding it. I smiled, tears gathering again, not from sadness this time, but from recognition. I think I know what the letter was, I said quietly. Do you? He asked. Yes, I replied. I think I was afraid that if I sent it, something would have to change. He didn't rush me. That's still true, he said softly. I looked around my apartment. The same walls, the same routines, the same careful life I'd built around not wanting to disappoint anyone, including myself. What if I'm not ready? I asked. You didn't ask to be ready. You asked to be honest. I nodded slowly. I think, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded, I might want to try. There was a smile in his voice when he replied, That's new. And for the first time since the phone rang, I felt something shift. Not outward, not dramatic, but inward, like a door unlocking. We ended the call gently. No promises, no plans. Just a quiet, mutual understanding that something had been set in motion and didn't need to be rushed. After I hung up, the apartment felt different. Not bigger, not brighter, more honest. I stood in the middle of the living room for a long moment, phone still in my hand, as if part of the conversation might continue without sound. Then I opened the notebook. The first pages were filled with half-finished thoughts, lists that stopped mid-line, ideas circled and then crossed out like I'd been arguing with myself on paper. And then I found it, the letter. I recognized it immediately, even before reading a word. The handwriting was tighter there, more deliberate, as if I'd known this part mattered. It wasn't long, it wasn't dramatic, it was just true. I read it slowly, out loud, to an empty room. It wasn't addressed to anyone in particular. That had always been the problem. It was addressed to the person I wanted to be brave with, and I hadn't known who that was yet. I closed the notebook. For the first time, I didn't feel embarrassed by it. I felt proud. The next morning, I did something that used to terrify me. I said no. It was a small thing, a polite decline, a boundary that had waited years to exist. But when I sent the message, my hands shook, not from fear of consequence, but from the unfamiliarity of choosing myself without justification. Nothing terrible happened. The world didn't crack open. No one yelled. The day went on, and somehow that made everything feel possible. That afternoon, my phone buzzed again. A message this time, from Daniel. Didn't want to intrude, just wanted to say, "I'm glad you answered." I stared at the screen longer than necessary. Then I replied, "Me too." A few minutes passed. "You don't owe me updates," he wrote, "but if you ever want to talk again, I'm around." I smiled, not because of him, but because the offer felt optional. That evening, I took a walk without headphones, let the city exist around me instead of passing through it. I noticed things I'd stopped seeing, a couple laughing on a bench, the way the light hit the windows just before sunset, the sound of my own footsteps. I felt present. Later that night, I sat at my desk and opened a blank document. No outline, no pressure, just one sentence. "I don't know where this goes, but I'm willing to move." I saved it, not as a draft, as a beginning. Before bed, I checked my phone one last time. No new messages, and instead of feeling disappointed, I felt steady. Because for the first time in a long while, I wasn't waiting for something to happen to me. I was already moving. The message came 3 days later. Not dramatic, not urgent. Just a simple question. Do you still take that bus on Sundays? I smiled the moment I read it. Somewhere in the back of my mind, a memory finally clicked into place. A rainy evening, the bus nearly empty. The way we'd both looked out the window more than at each other. Two tired people pretending they weren't hoping for something better. Sometimes, I typed back, "Why?" There was a pause, long enough that I didn't stare at the screen this time. Long enough that I trusted the silence. "Because I'll be on it this Sunday," he replied. Same time, no expectations. No expectations. I liked that. Sunday arrived quietly. No nerves, no rehearsed conversations. I dressed comfortably, not carefully. I left the house with time to spare, something I almost never did. When I stepped onto the bus, the smell of rain and warm metal wrapped around me like an old memory. He was already there. Sitting by the window, same seat. He looked up, surprised. Not that I'd come, but that I looked exactly like the person he remembered. Not idealized, not fixed, just real. "Hi," he said. "Hi," I replied. We sat next to each other, shoulder to shoulder, watching the city move past. No rush to fill the space, no need to explain the years in between. "You look lighter," he said after a while. "I feel lighter," I answered. He nodded. "That's new." The bus moved on, rain tapping gently against the windows. "I never expected anything to come of that voicemail," I said quietly. "I think I just needed proof that I could ask." "And now?" he asked. "Now I know I can answer," I said. We got off at the same stop we had years ago, not because it was special, but because it was familiar. We walked without a destination, letting the conversation unfold naturally about books we'd loved, choices we'd postponed, lives that hadn't turned out wrong, just unfinished. At one point, he stopped and looked at me. "I don't want to rush this or define it too quickly." I smiled. "Me neither." "But," he added gently, "I'd like to keep walking in the same direction for a while, if you do." I felt the answer settle in my chest before it reached my lips. "I do." It wasn't fireworks. It was better. It was warmth without urgency, certainty without pressure. That night, back in my apartment, I opened the notebook one last time. I didn't reread the letter. I turned the page and wrote something new. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm living and letting things meet me where I am. I closed the notebook and placed it back on the shelf, not as something unfinished, but as something complete enough for now. As I lay in bed, phone charging quietly beside me, I thought about the call I almost ignored, about the version of myself who had trusted a stranger with a message for the future. She'd been right. I had wanted more. And I was finally brave enough to say yes, not to everything, not all at once, but to the next step. And that was enough.